Hello YouTube, this is TierPress667, and we are back with our Generation Little Cup tier list. This will be now, we're into Gen 2. Now, for Gen 2, they didn't really add a lot of new Pokemon, but there's still like quite a bit of Little Cup Pokemon that were added within Gen 2. A lot of them are, of course, are like later evolutions, so a lot of them will probably be banned, and also a lot of them are pretty bad, so it's really up to like, are we gonna have any S tiers is the question here. But once again, before we get into it, these are a matter of my opinion. I've played a lot of Little Cup over the years, so I do have a pretty good general sense of like what a lot of these mons do. However, once again, at the end of the day, it is my opinion, and this is based on what value this Pokemon brings in its point tier. Because otherwise, it would just be tiering it off the tier list itself, which then you could just look at a tier list and say, okay, this Pokemon's good, this one's bad, that sort of thing. This is more of like the value of each Pokemon in accordance to where it's tiered. So, with all that said, we can go ahead and get started here. Going off with Chikorita. I love Chikorita early on. Like, I think Swish was like my favorite time for Chikorita. I would definitely put it in like A tier in Swish. Nowadays, I think it's more B tier. It is a low tier grass type, which is pretty good because it does have good bulk and has access to recovery and can be annoying with like Leech Seed and stuff. However, it doesn't provide the same utility now that a lot of other low tier grass types have earned throughout like just like buffs within Scarlet and Violet. So it's just the low tier grass type that just doesn't have as great of utility as like the other ones, but it's still a really good like low value grass type that you can like pick up real quick to switch in onto the Earthquakes really well, and then set up screens as well because it does get access to that. So it can be a nuisance to handle still, and I do think it is still like a pretty good draft for a lot of teams. So I don't hate it, but I don't also love it as much as I used to anymore. Next we have Totodile. Totodile, I'll put it in C tier. It is the budget Corphish, and the issue with budget Corphish is Corphish isn't really that much drafted because, you know, you'd much rather have like a bulkier water type or like something like Shelter that's a lot like scarier in sweeping. However, like Corphish is still very scary. However, with Totodile is Corphish at least is able to like scare like right off the bat with adaptability. Totodile with sheer force isn't exactly that threatening until like it gets like a D-Dance or a Swords Dance up, and then by that point it's a mediocre bulk and like kind of need to like run like a boosting item, damage boosting item with its sheer force ability, because otherwise you're not really doing enough damage to kill without it, and then you're still dying. So I think like it needs to run Life Orb, so it can like, I think if it can like set up on like bulkier mons that aren't able to threaten a KO, it can become very scary. But outside of that, it's just, it's not the, you're taking this, so you are kind of forcing yourself to have to drop two water types. One of them has to be bulky, because usually I think you need a bulky water type on your team, and Totodile just isn't bulky, and then you are also with like a lower tier like sweeper that isn't exactly great because it's just dying to everything before it's able to get going. So that's my biggest issue with Totodile. Still, it does have its value, so I wouldn't put it in D tier per se. I'd say like the same thing for Cyndaquil here. I would say like it's very similar like with Totodile. It has its niche. It is a I think like its biggest niche is like Scarf Eruption sets that can like take on like other fire types. It switches in, gets the boost from its ability that is able to prevent fire type damage. I am blanking on the ability right now, but hopefully you understand what I mean. It is, or it could be like Blaze Up, pending like if you want to be like a Salic Berry set or something weird like that, and like sub down or whatever. But usually I'm like used to like seeing Scarf sets with it, and then clicking Eruption. Then like also being able to like switch into like Will-O-Wisps or Flame Charges, like straight fire moves as well. Get that boost and start clicking Eruption, doing massive damage to everything. It's a fire type that isn't exactly like, doesn't have a great niche per se. It's not Ponyta where it's like fast and able to hit everything really hard. It's not Litten, which has access to Intimidate and Parting Shot, or U-Turn, which is great. It's just it like loses out on so many things that other fire types have. So kind of making it mid there, and then like it's shown within the tier list as like it is like usually lower down like 5, 6, 7 points. Not that great, but it can still do massive damage with Scarf Eruption. So I have to put at least a little bit of respect on it. Next we have Sentret. Sentret. I'd say like bottom C probably. Like it does have like really weird niches with like Frisk and Tidy Up. So if you're playing in the Little Cup League that has Item Clause, which is I believe most of them still run that. So Item Clause is like similar to how it is in VGC, where you can only have one item. In Little Cup, you can only have two of an item. So with Sentret, you can kind of lead it with Frisk and like figure out, okay, this Pokemon has Scarf, it has a Violet or Berry Juice. Like I think the biggest ones are Violet and Berry Juice. You want to scout those out to see like, okay, this one has a Violet or Berry Juice. You kind of predict what the other, like a Violet or Berry Juice user is, and then you can like, okay, then these Pokemon don't have it. So it's really good for like getting like an early read on your opponent and what they brought and what they built. It's also has access to like Tidy Up and like Double Edge and Quick Attack and stuff like that. Or like Last Resort if you want to go that route. The issue is it is a Sentret, it is weak, and it's not really doing a lot of damage even after a Tidy Up boost, so it's there, but I think it's like just it's out utility with like Frisk and U-turn and stuff like that. Next we have Hoot Hoot. D tier. They did give Hoot Hoot Brave Bird this gen, which is great. The only issue is it still sucks, because even with Tinted Lens, its base attack is 30. So it's not doing a lot of damage. So like even if it gets access to Brave Bird, it has access to Hurricane. Its like special pool is a lot deeper than its physical pool. Like it gets Moonblast for some reason, and like its physical pool is just what, Steel Wing, Brave Bird, Zen Headbutt, and then like Return / Frustration. So its physical pool is kind of mid to bad, and its special pool is like pretty nice. The issue is it's like every single stat it has is either mediocre or just bad. So it's not really doing anything for you. It is a normal flying type, so it is weak to rocks, and you are either A, running boots, then you're dying real quick, or B, you're running like Scarf or Violet, then you're taking a bunch from rocks, and then you can easily be picked off by like any priority afterwards. So it's pretty bad overall, and just don't draft it. Next we have Ladybug. It is, I think, out of all of Gen 2, I think this is the worst Pokemon. It is probably up there as like one of the worst Pokemon to use in Little Cup outside like the meme picks like Magikarp. It just offers absolutely nothing. It does get access to Swords Dance, but it's still having a terrible typing, making 4 times weak to rocks. Then you have to run boots just to not die to rocks, and then when you're doing that, you are, you know, of course, being picked off by like any stray hit. And then it does have like good special defense, I guess, so like it could live a special move, but then what? Its base attack is garbage, its base special attack is garbage, its base defense and HP are garbage, its base speed is fine, its special defense is like its only good thing, and that's not really helping it at all due to its like terrible typing and like just terrible offenses altogether. So just overall terrible Pokemon. Next we have Spinarak. I'd say A tier. I could see an argument for S tier for Spinarak. It is definitely like top of A tier though. In my opinion, it's a low tier web setter, but it's a really good web setter because it's able to take on fighting types rather well. Unless like, you know, they are running coverage specifically for Spinarak, but like once again, Spinarak's like a low tier Pokemon that is like, it's usually like the 6th Mon you bring. It's left on the bench a lot, so like if you're forcing your opponent to bring like Rock Slide or whatever on like their top tier fighting type, then you're doing something good. So it can like definitely take on like a lot of fighting types. It has access to Insomnia, so it can take on Spore users like Fungus or Morlul really well. It also it has Swarm, which is not really great, but you know, Insomnia I think would be a more useful ability overall. But you know, Swarm has its niches, and then like, you know, access to hard-hitting moves like Shadow Sneak, Mega Horn, and stuff like that, and Poison Jab. access once again to webs. I think right now the meta within Little Cup is like webs is definitely a huge part of the meta. So having Spinarak is like a low tier web setter is really nice. Next we have Chinchou. I still think Chinchou is S tier. It's just because it has two amazing abilities, Voltorb and Water Absorb, that you can like interchange to take on like what you need to take on. Access to Flip Turn plus Volt Switch, so you're no longer walled by like ground types coming in. It also like Scald, Thunderbolt, Ice Beam. Its coverage is just crazy. Enough, like good enough to like really take on anything you want. Also access stuff like Dazzling Gleam. It has Sucker Punch for some reason, which I find hilarious. And so it is like a perfect pivot for like a lot of teams. Really, really great Pokemon. I do definitely suggest drafting it. Like it is like early round 2 to late round 2 pick overall, obviously. And it just pairs so well with any of the top tiers that I think is just a threat to always be drafted. Next we have Pichu. Top of D. I used to love drafting Pichu because like, ooh, low tier electric type with Volt Switch and Volt Tackle. Like it can hit kind of really hard. But then you realize it is a low tier electric type that dies to 2 Brave Birds, so you're not exactly getting a good electric type there. And at that point, you're just wasting a pick on like when there could be better value within the low tiers. So I just think Pichu just kind of brings it down like that. I'm going to put Cleffa and Igglybuff kind of like, it is like very similar Pokemon. I would just put them in the same tier. They're very much like 1 or 2 point terrible Pokemon, but both of them can be used rather well. I think just being a fairy type and like the huge access to moves both of them have, being Gen 1 or I guess like Gen 2 Pokemon, but like their evolutions being Gen 1 Pokemon, they do just get access to a bunch of random moves that can be very helpful. So I just think like just based on like their low value, they are still pretty worthwhile pickups. Next we have Togepi. I would honestly put Togepi like maybe like, yeah, I think Togepi is A tier. It is a bulky fairy type that has access to like both Wish and Soft Boiled. It can be also like annoying with like access like Fire Blast, Dazzling Gleam, that sort of thing. Like it has like a pretty good move pool, and it is just like really tough to take down outside like having coverage for it. So it could be a very much nuisance like Thunder Wave or Toxic Spam or whatever. Not Toxic isn't exactly great in Little Cup, but it can be used. But overall, it's just a very annoying mon to take on. Like it's like also like very low tier value, with being a fairy type as well. Once again, fairy types are good even in Little Cup when they aren't that abundant, so they're not exactly needed per se, but they can still be very useful in taking on the fighting types. So big fan of Togepi and definitely do think it is worth drafting. If we have Natsu, I put Natsu in B tier. It's usually tier like around 9-10 points. Like it's like the best magic bounce Pokemon in the tier. Like it is, I think, still better than Hatena, even though like it is weak to rocks. So like rock types can easily like hit it with a rock move instead of just clicking Stealth Rocks. But you still have to respect it whenever it's on the opposing team, especially like with like webs teams. If you set webs on yourself and you don't have a way of getting rid of them easily, then you are in a lot of trouble. So you definitely have to respect Natsu. It is it has a lot of like fun sets you can run with it, like Calm Mind. It has Cosmic Power, Stored Power. You can be like a Scarf set. You can also be like a Manual Weather setter as like a secondary option for Sun or Snow. I don't know if it gets Snow, but for Sun, it'd be a fun one for Rain even, but it is like access to both Roost and Morning Sun, I believe, so multiple different ways to heal itself, and overall just like also just, you know, Psychic Stab is being pretty good in Little Cup. It's U-turn, pivoting, good speed, 17. It's honestly, like overall, just a really good Pokemon. But the issue is it is kind of expensive, and for Magic Bounds users, it's like it's the best, but at the same time, like if you switch into like a Stone Edge and you're dead, then they get rocks up anyways, and you lose a Pokemon. So it is like you have to be very careful when using, but it does at least force prep. Next we have Mareep. I think Mareep is Pichu but better because once again it is access to static, of course, then also being a little bit bulkier than Pichu. It doesn't have like the same power that Pichu does, but it has like the bulk that Pichu doesn't, so it can at least switch into the Brave Birds better. I have a better chance to bait the static para, that sort of thing. So overall, just like for its low tier, I would definitely see it as like a B tier Pokemon. Next we have Hoppip. I have seen Hoppip drafted only for anti-sun or like funny sun. It's outside of that, I don't know. I just don't think, even with its value, like if it's it being a low tier, I don't really see the value in drafting Hoppip. It can have like some fun look at these moments, but I think I would put in the top of D tier for that because it's still better than Hoot Hoot and Ladybug for certain. But at the same time, I just don't see it providing any value that like something like Cleffa or Igglybuff or even Sentret can provide. So I think that's why I just put it in the top of D tier instead. I'm actually drop Sentret down to bottom C tier. Aipom, it should be banned. Nothing much to say about that. Just skill link, and then like base 19 speed. Well, actually no. No, I'm forgetting. We banned Tail Slap. So Aipom with Tail Slap banned specifically is not a bannable Pokemon. If it had Tail Slap, it will be in the should be banned tier. Tail Slap is just that crazy. But if it has to run Fury Swipes, then it can. I would put it probably in like top of C tier, honestly. It's just it's not drafted without Tail Slap because of the issue of like how mediocre Fury Swipes is as a move. And it's like it's not like the same technician abuser that Meowth is. It's like it's still like it has like good speed, it has good like attack and like decent bulk. But I don't think you would want to use like for how high points value, usually like 11 points, 11 or 12 points, something like that. It's just like I don't think it should really ever be drafted. So I just don't think it really provides that great of value. So I think that's why I should put it in C tier. But if you are allowing Tail Slap, then it is a banned Pokemon. Like this is only with like specific bans, like no Grassy Glide, no Tail Slap, that sort of thing. Alright, next we have Sunkern. Same thing with Hoppip, just a Sun Abuser where like I don't know why you're drafting it. There's other cheap Sun Abusers you can draft instead that are better, that sort of thing. Yanma definitely should be banned. Speed Boost plus Bug and Flying moves are just too broken. Bug Buzz and like Air Slash with Speed Boost just too broken. It's not like Flittle where Flittle gets completely walled by dark types. It doesn't get walled by anything really, and with the ability to just continuously Speed Boost, it is just way too hard to take on. Wooper, S tier, baby. I love Wooper. It is one of those like funny Pokemon that can take on all the top tier water types, and it is it's very much a low tier Pokemon. And it's just hilarious because it's just like it brings so much value for its points. Like like of course it's gonna be that low. I mean, all it does is it takes on all the top tier water types. That's all it does. It's all it does well. Everything else kind of bad, but it can take on your Chinchous with ease. It can take on Corphish rather well as well. Though you do have to be careful of it, like continuously setting up versus you. It can take on Krabby and other top tier water types. I don't know why I said Krabby, but those were the three Pokemon that came into mind. But just with the ability Water Absorb and having only one weakness in Grass, it makes it a fun mon to use, honestly. And I definitely do think with like how usually like low it's tiered, it's definitely a good pickup. Unfortunately, Paldean Wooper is the complete opposite, because they took the one good thing that Wooper had going for it in its typing, and they made it bad. Because now you are weak to Ice Beam, so all the water types you think you can check, you don't ever check anymore. So Yeah, Paldea and Wooper is just Wooper, but really bad. So don't draft it. Murko definitely should be banned. One of those, like, I Evolve, like, originally only like a single stage Pokemon. And then they gave it an evolution in a later gen, so it was already, like, good enough type of thing. So it's definitely too good for low cup. Same thing for Mischievous. Same reasoning. Pineco. I'd say Pineco's C tier. Pineco could be a good lead. It is able to take on almost everything rather well with like Berry Juice Sturdy. Being with just like how bulky it is, and so it can just always at least get up spikes or rocks or whatever. The biggest issue I have Pineco is that you don't want to draft it as a spinner because it is god awful at spinning because it can't spin rocks or spikes without taking 1,000,000 damage from them. So, and then like its low speed tier means it's always going to be hit before it can get a spin off. So you have to, one, switch into hazards, which is taking a lot of damage, or you have to at least predict your opponent clicking hazards at that point. And two, you have to be able to like to spin those hazards by meaning you have to take a hit. So it's just really, really difficult to get a spin off with Pineco. So it's just, that's a big reason why I have it this low, is like it can at least set up one or maybe two sets of hazards against your opponent if they're not running taunt or like, you know, fake out plus killing move. And other than that, it's just, that's it. And then it just dies. It clicks boom or it just dies, so. Alright, Girafarig and Dunsparce and Gligar. Oh, that's Smoochum. And Gligar all go into, it should be banned tier. Snubbull, I think, is S tier. I used to be kind of like mid on Snubbull, but I've been playing a lot of ADVLC. And like Snubbull is like probably a top 5 Pokemon in that format easily, maybe even top 3. So I come around with Snubbull in like Gen 3 and I was like, okay, let me see it and try it in like today's format in draft, and it is honestly pretty good. Like access to Intimidate is huge, especially against like a lot of the fighting types. It can just come in and just wall most of them. And like it's even also able to like take on like Iron Heads or Poison Jabs rather well and like hit back with Play Rough. Like I think like the only Pokemon that's like been able to like successfully take it on is I think like Pancham after like a bulk up Gunk Shot will kill. But other than that, like I guess like Galarian Farfetch like after an SD Poison Jab will kill, but in a one-on-one situation, I don't really like, outside of Pancham, I don't see a Pokemon that's like a fighting type that's going to be able to take out Snubbull before Snubbull takes them out. So it works really well as like a fighting type pivot. Access to Intimidate is really good overall, just for like a lot of like the physical attackers within the tier itself. And so it can also like, you know, be rattled if you want. That's like a fun ability, like come in on a U-turn, get the speed boost, and then threaten, because it does have like, it has access to bulk up and has access to like a bunch of good moves like Earthquake and then the Fang moves, Play Rough, that sort of thing. So it can threaten a lot of different Pokemon. So big fan of Snubbull. So in Quillfish, you know, I don't know why this thing is so good. This thing is so good in standard draft that having it in low cup is just a joke. Sneasel, I know there's like talks about like what would happen if we unban Sneasel, and no. Same thing with the Hisuian Sneasel. It's regular, it's like Sneasel but worse, but still a lot better than the low cup should allow. Teddiursa, I don't know. I like Teddiursa. It's a fun Pokemon to use. Like Guts and Quick Feet are both like a lot of fun, but the issue is it's a Teddiursa. Like you are running like Flame or Toxic Orb, so like you are going to like, you don't have a Violet on it, so you are like taking a lot of damage, and you just take a crap ton of damage from other Pokemon. Like it's not able to take a hit, but dang can it deal damage. So like if you're able to like come in versus like a Pokemon or whatever, like come in on the like as a revenge option, like threaten something out, you can honestly like, or maybe like click Trailblaze on like a Pokemon that's like low health, like a mon that's on sturdy, so you can click Trailblaze, get the speed boost, then your Flame War procs, your Guts or whatever, and then boom, you can click Facade 1,000 times and kill everything. But I think, honestly, I would put it in C tier. It's like kind of priced too high, I think, and it's definitely a fun Pokemon to use. Don't get me wrong. It's just I don't think it has like the same value that other Pokemon within its same tier do. Slugma, I have seen people try to make it work. It just doesn't. But it is cool whenever like the 1 in a million times it does work. It is hilarious, and that is like kudos to you. But it's still a D tier. Swinub, I would put it maybe Swinub in B tier. I think it's like it's a good rocker. It has access to Ice Shard. It can click Earthquake. Like it is ground ice, so like Mamoswine's threatening in standard. Swinub can be kind of threatening in Little Cup. Not really. It's kind of slow. It's weak to a lot of different typings, so it makes it really awkward to use. But outside of that, Swinub can be fun. I think it's still like a good draft just because like you have access to rocks, you have Ice Shard, and like ice moves in general are pretty nice. And then the ground typing with being able to like take on electric types, click Earthquake, that sort of thing. Also, you can be a thick fat and so take on ice types, but overall not terrible. So, and like for its point value, I think it's alright as well to draft. Galarian Corsola, should be banned. Not much else to say about that. Remoraid, it is a D tier. It has Hustle, so it can hit rather hard. It also has Sniper. Like I have seen some people use Remoraid kind of well, but at the same time, it's usually not worth picking up because it is a water type that is not bulky at all, and you are just going to die rather quickly. You are also depending on Hustle a lot, so it's not really worth, I think, because even with Hustle, it's still not hitting like extremely hard, hilariously enough. So it's just kind of just in an awkward position as a Pokemon. So that's why I think it's D tier. Houndour, I'd say A tier for Houndour. Fire Dark is such a good offensive typing. Not much in the tier. Not many Pokemon in the tier is able to take on its combination of stab outside of like Carvanha and itself. And one, you drafted Houndour, so if you're in like in a regular 8 or 16 person league or 12 person league, you're not going to face Houndour at all. Outside of like maybe you're in a 16 person, they split up to 8 people drafts, then maybe you can face Houndour once. But outside of that, it's just able to just sit on so many different things on itself, actually, but not really able to sit on anything. Sorry, what I'm saying. Flash Fire, that's the ability. Yeah, there we go. Yep, Cyndaquil gets Flash Fire, by the way. And it has Flash Fire, so it takes on like fire types rather well, and then like can hit them back really hard with like dark moves like Dark Pulse. Or you want to run physical, you run Crunch. I think special is a little bit better, but you do you. It is like it's still able to hit really hard with like Overheat, Fire Blast, that sort of thing. Access to Flame Charge, so it can like add speed boost as well. It is like overall a really like good, I think, threat within Little Cup, just because of its stab combination. So hard to take on. Next up we have Phanpy. I like Phanpy. I really like Phanpy. I used to have Phanpy, like I used to say Phanpy would be like an A or maybe S tier, but I've kind of like been lower and lower on Phanpy due to the fact that it's just like it's a rock setter without sturdy, that like it falls within like it's a couple points higher than like the sturdy rock setters, so it kind of fails in that regard. It's also like a ground type that falls within like similar tiers as like Sandshrew, and it doesn't have Rapid Spin, unfortunately. If Phanpy had Rapid Spin, it would definitely be S tier, I think. The fact that it doesn't have Rapid Spin kind of hurts it, because like it's just a worse Sandshrew, and so it's just it gets access to Ice Shard, which like it's the only niche that it has over Sandshrew, outside of maybe having like a pickup that can, like, you know, sometimes pick up berry juices if they were used by your opponent after you use your berry juice. So you can have that little niche going for you. But outside of that, just it's there. He's a happy little boy. I still think, like, overall definitely worth drafting because, like, you know, there's only one Sandshrew. You can definitely get Phanpy afterwards. So next up, Stantler should be banned. Not much else to say about that. Tyrogue. I know Tyrogue gets a lot of hate, but I honestly think it is definitely, like, more than, like, usable enough to, like, make it in C tier. As, like, oh crap, all the good fighting types are taken, let me snatch Tyrogue real quick, because at least with, like, Guts, it could be very threatening with, like, High Jump Kick, Mach Punch, Bullet Punch. It gets so many different priority moves. It does get access to spin. I don't believe you're really spinning much with it, but just having Guts plus priority does at least give it a little bit of niche over some of, like, the lower tiers, like Hoppip or Sunkern or Poor Remoraid. Next we have Smoochum. I think Smoochum is D tier. This might be, like, a little hot take. It is, like, usually, like, it is, like, priced like a 7-8 point range. It's just, my biggest issue with Smoochum is it's an ice type that doesn't provide the same huge, like, offensive or even, like, a little bit, like, utility capabilities that, like, all the other ice types do, especially, like, the higher tiered ones. So, like, Swinub, it gives you access to, like, rocks. It has, like, a secondary ground typing, which is really helpful. Its secondary psychic typing isn't really doing it any favors. It does, like, it has, like, 4 warrants, so that can be kind of useful if you, like, want to scout, like, if your opponent has knockoff or something like that. But overall, just, like, kind of mid to bad. I don't really think it's ever worth drafting for that much, so I think that's why it's a D tier. We have Elekid. Honestly, I think Elekid is the best one. It is still, like, I think criminally low price for, like, how much it got buffed in Gen 9, and the way it got buffed in Gen 9 is they gave it Trailblaze and they gave it Knockoff. Those were, like, the two moves they, like, the two notable moves it got, and it just made it so much better. It's such a threat, and it can run special and physical both very well. It's way too scary. I definitely think it is still, like, tiered too low. It should definitely, I think, be tiered a little bit higher. So it's 100% an amazing value to pick up. I think it's, like, right now, like, 11 points or 11, 12. I would put it in 13. It's just that good. It has the best speed tier in the game, only being speed tied by Diglett and Voltorb, both Voltorb forms. And the only thing that, and, like, regular Voltorb doesn't hit ground types. Hisuian Voltorb is pretty good, I'll give it that. And then Diglett is there to trap and click Earthquake. That's about all that Diglett's doing. So it's, like, it's definitely has more utility than Diglett. So I just think overall, spectacular Pokemon, definitely worth picking up. I wouldn't say, like, round 1, but definitely, like, a round 2 pick for sure. Next we have Magby. I'd say Magby's, like, bottom A, just for the simple fact that it is a threat with Belly Drum, and then, like, you know, it can also run special sets, like special Life Orb sets are also, like, nothing to sneeze at. It has amazing speed at 19 speed, only being outsped by the 4 aforementioned Pokemon, and then speed tying all the other 19 speeders. And then also, like, if it's able to get a Belly Drum off, there isn't really much that can just come in and take it on, because they are going to die. All like, the aforementioned Pokemon that are faster than it, most of them will die to Mach Punch. I think, like, Elekid can definitely live it. And then, like, Voltorb, if it has, like, a little bit of bulk investment and is a Violet, can also live. But outside of that, they will all die. It also accesses the Flame Charge. You just want to outspeed them and kill them with something else, sort of thing. You could do that. But overall, crazy good mon to draft. I think, with all that being said, it's still, like 10 points, 10, 11 points, that sort of thing. so definitely like worth picking up, and so that's why I have an A tier. The biggest issue I have with Magby though is like you want to use it like kind of in the back. You don't want to like break with it. You don't want to like break everything with it. So it is like your sweeper in the back, like kind of like your win con. And the issue is like with that, all that, it's kind of hard to get set up without a lot of help from its teammates. So like it falls into like kind of like similar to how Shelter falls into. Like Shelter needs a lot of help from its teammates in order to get like a free smash up in order to like threaten and like take out the opposing team. The same thing with Magby. Difference is Magby's one, Magby is a little bit cheaper, and two, Magby has a lot more. It can run a lot more than what Shelter usually runs, so definitely worth. And finally we have Larvitar. I think Larvitar was like the one I was thinking the most about. It's kind of weird, I feel. It's like, it does have access to Dragon Dance, and it can be really scary if it's able to get Dragon Dance up. My biggest issues, and it has like access to Guts, so you can't exactly burn it when it's trying to set up. My biggest issues I've had with Larvitar though is it's a ground rock type that doesn't have Sturdy. So its defensive typing is kind of awkward. So like to the point where like you have to take on like everything has Trailblaze or like some like water coverage or grass coverage or whatever. So like it's kind of hard to get like a free setup on anything. Its special defense isn't exactly great, so it will like die to Ice Beam and stuff like that. So like almost everything is going to have coverage for Larvitar to the point where it's just really hard to get set up. And even then, like speed is kind of mediocre to like where you are going to be outsped by a bunch of choice scarfers anyways. Even after one Dragon Dance, that could just like revenge kill you, take you out. It's just like for its point value, there's Geodude that's around the same tier as Larvitar, and Geodude is just better because it's sturdy and Sucker Punch. It's just Larvitar is just really, really hard to get going, and I just don't think it's really ever worth it because like a quality opponent should be able to like get rid of it or like at least prevent it just from completely sweeping them. So that's kind of why I have Larvitar down here. And my boy Sentret still in C tier. Let's go, Sentret. Honestly, I think I might drop Sentret down to D tier. Like I'm saying, like it provides utility, just not as like great utilities like everything else. So I'm sorry, Sentret, you get to drop down to D tier with everyone else. But yeah, I like the biggest thing with like Gen 2, like in Gen 1 you saw like a bunch of mid tiers, and Gen 2 you're seeing a bunch of bottom tiers. I think that's kind of what it was. Like all the Pokemon introduced in Gen 2, very few of them were actually really good, and a lot of them were just kind of mediocre or bad. I think that's just like, I think Little Cup kind of reflects the same thing outside of like, you know, Chinchou and Elekid and my boy Wooper and stuff like that, but most of the time they're kind of mediocre to bad. So yeah, that is alright. That is the tier list. Next week we'll be going on to Gen 3, which is, I think it is definitely my favorite gen. Little Cup wise, probably not, because like I don't think there's a crap ton of like really good Little Cup mods from Gen 3, but however, it is like my favorite gen just for like Pokemon overall. So I am looking forward to doing that. Let me guys know in the comments what you think about this tier list. Of course, it is my opinion. I would love to hear what your all's opinions is. Like, do I have something too high? Do I have something too low? Is there like a fun set that you use with any of these Pokemon that you think should like, you think would be like a cool way to like, you know, warrant them moving up, that sort of thing? Like, I would love to hear like some of the fun sets you had, especially for like the low tier mons that I have here, like so like Slugma or Hoothoot, Ladybug, Paldean, Wooper, that sort of thing. So yeah, do let me know in the comments of what you think. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next week. Peace.